Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Yates. I'm the coordinator of Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers, which serves Central Kentucky and Southern Indiana. And we're very appreciative of being able to partner with ATF and Louisville Metro Police on this important initiative that I think is going to be helpful to our community. We hope so. And Crime Stoppers has been in Louisville since 1982, and in that time it's proven to be a very successful program. And the bedrock of this initiative is to be anonymous for our callers. We will, when you call Crime Stoppers, we will never ask for your name. You will be given a code number. In the 42 years we've been serving Metro Louisville, we have not had one mishap and no problems with any payoffs, and we never know the person's name, and we do not have caller ID. So it is, when we say anonymous, that's what it is, and our phones are answered 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So we look very much forward to working with ATF and LMPD. We have a strong relationship with both agencies, and we look forward to continuing this. We'll be available to answer any questions afterwards. And at this time, I would like to present Agent in charge of ATF in the Louisville Division, Agent Shawn Morrow.
Good afternoon. My name is Shawn Morrow. I'm the Special Agent in charge for the ATF Louisville Division. ATF is very proud of our work with the Louisville Metropolitan Police Department. And we want the community to know that we're working hard to reduce gun violence, not just in Louisville, but across the region. Generally, violent crime has fallen across the country over the last several months. Here in Louisville, we've still got some work to do, especially when it comes to firearms-related violent crime. Today, we're pledging to continue our efforts not only to pursue the shooters, but also to target sources of crime guns. Nearly 5,000 firearms are reported stolen every year across Kentucky, and more than a quarter of those come from the Louisville area. And about 25% of those are encountered by our police officers. About 25% of those stolen firearms are encountered by our police officers on the streets, and this puts our police officers in danger. And many times those guns are used to commit other crimes in the community. One of ATF's top priorities is firearms trafficking. And we have many initiatives focused on sources of crime guns like unlicensed dealing and straw purchasing. Today, we're announcing an initiative with Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers aimed at a third source of crime guns, theft. Our investigations have shown that theft of firearms, particularly theft from vehicles, is a major source of guns used to commit other crimes. Along with announcing this new initiative, it's important to emphasize that gun owners can help too. They can help by securing their firearms and making sure their guns are not accessible to those who aren't supposed to have them. By safely securing their firearms, every gun owner can guard against theft and avoid a potential crime in the community. Under this partnership, ATF is providing funds to Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers to be used as reward money for information leading to an arrest and a seizure of a stolen firearm, or the arrest of a person in possession of a firearm used to commit a crime. Law enforcement needs the community support, and we need help. By providing information, community members can help us improve public safety. And as we close in on the last few months of the year, ATF will continue to work closely with LMPD and law enforcement across the region to protect our communities from gun crime. And we're very, very thankful for this opportunity to partner with Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers. And with that, I'll give way to Chief Humphrey.
Thank you. Very excited to be here today to announce this partnership with Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the ATF. Obviously, Crime Stoppers has a long track record going back to 1982 of helping law enforcement solve crimes in an anonymous way. The partnerships with Crime Stoppers, the ATF, and the community are integral to helping us solve crimes and keep this community safe. We understand that people are always in need of ways to communicate and work with the police. And we understand the concern that citizens have about being able to do that in an anonymous way. This is another way that we can create that partnership between the citizens and the community in order to keep people safe. Gun crime in our community is obviously an epidemic that we have to deal with. We want to make sure that we interrupt that crime cycle. So disrupting the opportunity for guns to be stolen by having cooperation with the community of doing things like locking their guns up, not having access to guns by their kids or other people in their house that shouldn't have access to them, and then using the information that they have to turn that over to us. These are all things that we need to do to keep this community safe. And by giving this other outlet for communication and cooperation that guarantees that people are going to be able to do this in an anonymous way is very important. And this is another step that we're taking to make sure that we keep the community safe. So at this time, we'll open it up to any questions.
Can you say how many reports of stolen guns LMPD has received this year?
I can get you that number. We can probably get that number real soon. Do you already have it?
Well, I know generally, yeah.
Let's start.
Yes, sure. So every year in the Louisville area, over the last few years, we've had anywhere between 11 and 1,300 firearms reported stolen annually. What's important to remember is that there's no state law that requires reporting of stolen firearms, and so it's incredibly important for the community to cooperate with the police and let them know when a firearm is stolen. There's lots of advantage, of course, in trying to regain your property, but also we know that these guns can be used to commit other crimes, and it's important to provide information to the police so that they can take steps to try to stop those crimes before they occur. But it's generally about 1,200 a year.
Let me run this by you. I looked at some court records earlier, and there were about 126 people indicted by a grand jury for possession of a stolen firearm. Does that mean we're only getting about 10% of these that are reported stolen?
So I can't tell you the exact number. I think he said about a quarter is what we recover. So if you look at grand jury indictments alone, those are not always all of the cases that get pled out. So some of those cases will get pled down.
Or amended up. So
Correct. And so I think the important thing to understand is that there is a gap, right? We know that some of those guns are out there being used in violent crimes and commission of other crimes. And so that's why it's important on the front end, one, to protect your weapons and make sure that there's not the readily available weapon to be stolen or used in the course of a crime. And then after a gun is stolen, to make sure that it is reported properly and that any information that we have about that is used to get that gun off the street. Because there's really only one reason to steal a gun, right, is to commit another crime. And so every time that we are able to get a crime gun off the street, that's another victim that we're protecting.
What will happen to those guns when you get them off the streets, the stolen guns?
So those guns are turned over per state law the way that we have to, unless we're dealing with the federal side.
So from the federal government, from ATF's perspective, when we seize firearms in our criminal investigation, we have once the case is adjudicated, those firearms are destroyed.
Being that there's no law that requires firearm owners to report the loss or theft of a firearm, how difficult does that make it? And just even knowing it's lost or it was stolen, or how does that just make your job harder?
Well, it makes it incredibly difficult. One of the things that we do is encourage gun owners to record their firearm information and make sure to have it in a safe place. So they have the manufacturer, they have the caliber, they have the serial number. ATF offers a firearms registry that you can go to online and download and record that important information. So in the event you are a victim of a crime or your firearms are stolen, that you can promptly provide that to authorities. And so it's something that we always encourage folks to do. Of course, it aids our investigation when we know the firearms information, and allows ATF and our Crime Gun Intelligence Center to aid LMPD or the investigating agency and try to develop investigative leads as well. So it's very important.
It looked like earlier there was a lot of overlap between people who are convicted felons having these stolen firearms and also receiving drug charges at the same time that they're being nailed for that stolen firearm. Can you talk about that overlap a little bit in charges?
Yeah, so the question being, what about the overlap between drug charges that we often see that come in conjunction with convicted felon in possession of a firearm or stolen firearm possession charges? And we know that those crimes are often very closely connected, right? And so being able to target individuals that we know have a history of particularly violent crime, but the drug culture and what leads to some of these violent crimes are very closely connected to drug trafficking. It doesn't take a genius to figure out, not to insult your intelligence, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that there's a close connection between drug trafficking and violent crime, and often one feeds the other.
Chief, can you give an example of how you hope this will work? Like, so if you hear about a break-in and a stolen gun, what people should do?
Well, oftentimes people know what crimes have been committed, but they're afraid to give us information, and some of that is for good reason, right? People don't want to be targeted. They want to feel safe, but they want to participate in the criminal justice process and make sure that bad actors are held to account for their actions. This is another layer that gives some assurance and some protection to victims and/or witnesses. There are sometimes victims that are afraid to report these things, right? It might be grandma or grandpa's gun that got stolen, but they're afraid of their grandchild because their grandchild's involved in drug trafficking and violent crime, as they said. This might be a friend that somebody knows is stealing guns or trafficking in stolen weapons, but they're afraid to be able to report that stuff. And so this gives the opportunity for somebody to have that extra layer of anonymity so that they understand that they can make sure they get this dangerous gun off the street, but also protect themselves at the same time.
And 574 LMPD will still be in place?
Yes, 574 LMPD, our internal anonymous tip line, is also still in place, or 582 CLUE for the Crime Stoppers side of it. Yes, sir.
Do you find the majority of stolen guns are coming from people just stealing them from cars, or what's the biggest source of that?
Yeah, so nationally, more than 95% of the firearms that are stolen come from either vehicles or personal residences. And so we know that there's a large portion that come from cars. We encourage our community to make sure they lock their vehicles up. Again, that goes with the same theme about safe storage. Don't leave your firearm unattended. Don't leave it in a glove box. Don't leave it under the seat. If it's not secured on your person, make sure that it's put away out of the reach of people who are not supposed to have them. I want to follow up on something the Chief said, something we're very proud of, and credit goes to Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers for approaching us to talk about this initiative. We started a similar initiative in Lexington with Bluegrass Crime Stoppers. That was the first of this type of initiative in the United States, a partnership with law enforcement and a Crime Stoppers organization, working with Lexington Police Department. We have already had success investigating cases there that have resulted in search and arrest warrants and the recovery of stolen firearms. We expect to have the same result here.
Can you talk a little bit more about that Lexington success? Do you know how many firearms have been recovered through that program?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we do have multiple firearms and multiple law enforcement operations resulted from citizens that were concerned enough and had knowledge of somebody in possession of a stolen firearm, providing that information through Crime Stoppers, and we were able to take action. So overall, it's been a success.
So you're finding that the money helps?
Well, it's an extra incentive. This is not this is just one more approach, right? We have a community organization that wants to be a part of the solution. They want to partner with us to help, and it's just one more avenue for citizens to be able to reach law enforcement and maybe be incentivized to provide some help.
I'll end with one last thing, is that we have to understand the consequences of what we're talking about. We're not talking about nonviolent drug crime, right? We're talking about people who are in illegal possession of firearms. There's only one reason to possess a firearm in the commission of a crime, and that's to threaten somebody's life with it or to take somebody's life with it. When we look at the number of shootings and homicides that we have on the streets of Louisville, it's absolutely unacceptable. So we are open and welcoming any ways, avenues to deal with violent crime and get these guns off the street. So we are excited that Crime Stoppers has reached out and wanted to restart this partnership. We're excited to work with the ATF and get some of these guns off the street and put some of these violent felons behind bars. But we want the community to be part of that. And so we are asking for your help in solving this violent crime problem every day, because it is a legitimate risk to public safety. So thank you all.